Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Road Dog, with none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Karl Bryan. Welcome back to the show, Big Shooter.
Yo, yo, yo. Road Dog, how are you, Shoots? What's happening? We just had a good pre-show. Wow, we got some.
We did. We ran pretty long there. That's good. Lots of hockey talk. Lots of people taking action. There are lots going on. So there you go. I feel like we lose all of the American fans every time we start talking hockey. So I almost feel like we start talking NFL. Yeah. There's a real lack of Tom Brady talk and Uggs from Karl Bryan lately. Not sure what that's about, but there you go, Shoots.
He's in the playoff, Shoots. I think that way they go. I don't even know what the record was, but 8-8, and they're in the playoffs. Go Brady. And a home game, by the way. He manages to get a home game.
But are they a threat? I don't think so. Like I'm sorry, when you're competing against the Philly and the Chiefs and the Bills, forget about it. By the way, interesting, I'm not sure if you caught this. So obviously with the Bills and everything that happened to Hamlin there, so glad to hear that he's doing better. Did you catch that in the interview? So he's number 3. It's been 3 years and 3 months since they had a return off a kickoff for a touchdown in Buffalo. They threw for 3 touchdowns, and they had 3 interceptions yesterday.
No way. Nice. The heavens looking down on him, my man. That's what was going on.
So crazy, dude. I love that sort of stuff. So, anywho, listen, let's jump right in because we got to get some questions here. But actually, before I go there, did I talk about the whole Chat GPT thing? And I talked about I never thought it could happen, like the things that you don't foresee coming. We talked about that, right?
Last week?
I believe it was. Yeah. So I got to send you this article. What you haven't realized is that Microsoft has invested over $1 billion in ChatGPT and is bringing it to Bing. Like this little useless search engine that hardly anyone uses is about to become a big threat to Google, which I'm not going to lie, didn't see that coming. But interesting how that's all coming out now. So there you
go. Just that macro level, I think that's understanding. And by the way, it could fall on its face, and it could be, it could, like you said, it could take Bing to new heights and legitimately create a competitor to Google, which as it stands now, they're basically not. You know what I mean? But from a macro level, to know this sort of thing, I think you can pluck business owners' ears up, which we've talked about a few times this year, with those macro level concepts. And I think the coaches should be aware. So there you go. So there you go, Shoots. That's good.
Well, and now speaking of all these big companies, obviously a lot of layoffs are happening. And also a lot of talk of like, hey man, we need you back in the office. I can't believe, quite honestly, that people are still working as much remotely as that's still allowed as much as it is. But anyways, that being said, do you think that people will go back or like what are your thoughts on all this? Because you've heard a lot of talk about it. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, but keep in mind that, China, they just got out of lockdown, right? So again, when you look at different parts of the world, there's a lot of, going back to the office and whatnot is absolutely, it's going back. They're talking about going back to work, right? So people are going back to the office. I think there's going to be a percentage of people that will continue to work from home, and others, and super popular, will be like a hybrid. Think 3 days a week at the office and then 2 at home. already well and truly happening in North America. Smarter companies are going to adopt more of flexibility with its staff. The folks that want to work out of a spare bedroom or a den. I also know a large percentage of people are not disciplined enough over the long haul to handle home offices, and they'll become less productive. Workforce and local businesses have felt that in a real and tangible way, like we've been less productive as a whole. Because remember, COVID started, right? And it was like, holy smokes, and everybody had their laptop underneath their arm, and they were working diligently and trying to save the world when COVID hit. Then Netflix creeped in a little bit, daily hours, and more as we went on. So I also know that people will get better at managing working from home. Teams will get better at managing projects virtually. So again, you'll get that thing where, like machine learning, right? People are gonna, we learn as we move along. Like we've got clients in 49 countries. I think we have 36 staff now, and they're in all corners of the world. I think we have 9 staff in Africa, right? Like we were already set up virtual, so we were lucky, but most weren't. And they're learning and they're getting better. And new tools like Slack, not that it's overly new or Zoom is overly new, but there's so many tools getting developed and adopted at higher rates that are going to make it more seamless and more to the point, make these companies more efficient, more productive. And that in a small business space, ultimately, if you want to bring high end A player type staff in, you need to be able to create an environment at which they feel comfortable. And if a higher level corporate, you got a young kid at home, and you got a high level, corporate opportunity where you can work, 2 to 3 days at home, and then you've got a small business trying to hire you for maybe a little bit more money and maybe a little bit more attractive of a job, but they expect you to be in the office. What do you think's going to happen? And I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to choose that flexibility. So yeah, it's again, the office depends on what we're talking. Just the U.S., talking North America, or talking globally. That conversation is well and truly happening. But yeah, that's what I think. Think of a football team, Road Dog. A football team. There's only so much you can do on Zoom. You need to, because so some are thinking that everything's just going to be virtual and nobody's going to go back to the office to do. That's absolutely not the case. And in fact, you talk to university students now, they want to go to an office. They want to rub shoulders. I mean, they just went through, very different than us, where we're well and truly, past all of that, like high school, university, learning, university type stuff. Well, they were locked out of their classrooms begging to get back, right? So again, they've got a very different mindset, but more to the point is a framework and the way you're thinking about it. Think of a football team, a baseball team, a hockey team trying to train virtually. It's just not, you're never going to be able to practice the plays. You're never going to get the chemistry between the quarterback and the receivers. You're never going to have those relationships build. If you see a team that wins the Super Bowl, see a team that wins the World Series, see a team that wins the Stanley Cup, you're going to have a family, not a team, right? So teams that, they grow together at an unbelievable level, well, that doesn't happen the same over Zoom, not even close. You got to be, toes to toes, knees to knees, belly to belly, face to face in order to build that relationship. So thinking about that from a work dynamic, to say that you're not going to bring people back into the office, I think that if you want to be competitive and do something big and do something special, or do something in a really productive, efficient manner, I do think that there needs to be an element of that water cooler, of those, walking past one another in the hallway and just having those, meetings that were impromptu, that weren't scheduled, that all of a sudden, something big comes up. And that being said, Road Dog, teams will get better at doing Zoom, and teams will get better at being efficient and productive. I just said that a minute ago, virtually, but it's one of those things where it's going to happen over time. right? Like machine learning, artificial intelligence. It's never as dumb as it is on day one, and it learns a little bit more. It learns a little bit more. It learns a little bit more through data. That's the machine learning component to it. Um, the same thing with virtual workspace. So I think for everybody listening, Road Dog, what I'm trying to say there is that think of a professional sporting team. And yes, they could do 25. They could practice plays and they could understand plays and get to know the playbook via Zoom and at home. But there's no way that they're going to be able to build chemistry and get to know their teammates. And you're not going to build you're not going to have a team just show up on Sunday and be able to play without going, through the plays, shoulder to shoulder, eyes to eyes, belly to belly, on a football field. So that's my answer.
If it's true for AI, is it true for you? Like the last time the next time I see you, you won't be as dumb as the last time I saw you. Is that how that works?
I think I'm going the opposite, Sheets. Unfortunately.
Okay, all right. I'll kind of monitor that and track it and report it back to the folks. Listen, we just had somebody write in here that said, "Hey, what do you think the role will be? The media will play in what happens? This whole back to work and everything else play."
Yeah, well, the media, God, the media is going to say what they want. They're going to steer you in whatever direction they choose, right? If they want people back in the offices, as an example, they have commercial real estate, throwing advertising dollars at them. They are going to skew the news in one direction to fit the narrative that's more profitable for them, right? It's like, don't believe, the clickbait, the SBF. FTX, crypto, you know what I mean? It's all over the news right now as we record. His girlfriend said this, his girlfriend said that, she's guilty of this. She said, he's guilty of that. I talked about that in the first podcast that I did this year when I did it on my own. And I'm like, look, he's guilty. This is what I believe, right? And I am not judge, jury by any stretch of the imagination, but look, he's guilty. He will go to jail because too many people want him in an orange jumpsuit. But I don't think that he was fraudulent on purpose. He was worth $38 billion at the age of 30. And do you know how much has to go right in a row? You're going to, like, everything you touch turns to gold kind of thing. Do you know how many things in a row have to go right in order to be worth $38 billion at the age of 30? So he just thought he could do no wrong. He just thought that everything was going to be fine. And as long as he kept making more money, 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 money solves problems. And it had solved all the problems to that point. Again, he's given out money to politicians and that sort of thing. He's a Time, was it the Time magazine person of the year? Or no, that's not right. He was on the front of Forbes magazine, right? Like, pretty easy to think you're untouchable. And by the way, he should have never done that interview. He's obviously trying to win over the public, because that's something that's stressing them out. That was not going to happen, and that interview is not going to do well for him. But the bottom line is that the media, they're going to skew things. Like, it's Prince Harry right now. Remember before this whole, the Prince Harry thing, exiting the royal family. He was like the coolest guy, could do no wrong. He went off to battle. And now suddenly he's the worst person ever, right? He was a kid, his mother was killed by the her life was ruined. Or I don't know. That's my opinion, right? I think you probably agree, right? Like, her life was ruined by the paparazzi. She could not move without them. She couldn't go on a vacation. She couldn't, go to the mall with her kids, kind of thing. She couldn't do anything because of the paparazzi following her around. And then they killed her, right? And now he is married and has a child and a family of his own, and he's trying to get his wife away from that. And somehow he's a terrible human. It's just media driven and just so much clickbait. It's scary. And of course, I don't know, he's doing some silly show. And should he do that? Probably not. But he's also a little bit nervous that he's going to have to fend for himself for the rest of his life. And he's never been responsible for $5. You know what I mean? So and he's married to a Hollywood actress. So that's what, if you go to a dentist, they want to pull a tooth. You go to a chiropractor, they want to crack your back. You go to a surgeon, they want to cut you open. When you marry a Hollywood star, she wants to do a TV show. and that's what he's doing, right? Like, so is Prince Harry a bad guy, and is he no longer the coolest thing going? Like, I don't know. Prince Harry is Prince Harry, and the media just spin things, and I personally just think it's brutal, and I cringe. I follow exactly none of it. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration because I just rattled on about it. But for the most part, I'm not watching. I watched 15 minutes of the show. I ain't watching anymore. I'm not reading the articles. I don't care what Prince Harry's up to. I just feel for the guy big time. At the end of the day, he was a little boy whose mom died. And think of the PTSD and whatnot, and the mental gymnastics required to go through life with that. And now he's trying to get his wife away from it. And he's a bad guy. And who's he a bad guy? The media. That's the paparazzi, is the media, by the way, right? So, Road Dog, intelligence is the ability to have conflicting views, right? So, like, I can be pro-vax, but anti-vax passport, right? Which would, by the way, be my stance, right? Good, bad, and different. That's just the way. That's my opinion, right? But a vax passport, I think, is ridiculous. But getting the vaccine back when we needed everybody to get the vaccine, I was like, in favor of that. Or like, the vote Republican federally and then Democrat locally, right? Like, again, that's like, I don't know if that's a conflicting view, but most people wouldn't do that, right? They identify as a Republican, they identify as a Democrat, and then that's the way they vote, right? It's FTX thing, right? Like, he should go to jail, but not guilty of intentional fraud, right? What he did was fraudulent. Like, I know a guy, Road Dog. You probably know this story, right? But I know a guy like Johnny Utah and I were out. Look, basically, he killed his wife while his kids were asleep. He then called his brother and said, basically just right after he killed his wife, he called the police himself. He called his brother and, look, I just killed my wife. Can you come to my house immediately, and can you raise my kids for me? Right? 3 days prior to, you and I went for a beer just a few days ago. And he and I were talking about his wife and some of the horrible things that she was doing, right? And I feel bad for her, like, she's dead, right? Mother of 2 young kids is dead. I feel terrible, right? I feel terrible for the kids, far worse for the kids. Now that they're being raised by their uncle. And I also think that what the guy did was brutal and it's unforgivable, right? But I can also see how he was not 100% at fault, as in, I see the situation in a multifaceted way, right? Like, most people will hear that a guy killed his wife and stabbed her like 25 times and just think that he's Satan, and that's that, right? And by the way, good on him, and I'm totally fine with that. But I believe that judgment is shallow, empathy is deep, and I dare try to have empathy and not judge, right? Like, look at a complicated situation holistically, and maybe that is on the dramatic side, but it's not every day that you go have a beer with a guy 3 days before he goes and kills his wife, right? Absolutely brutal. But again, I believe that, intelligence is the ability to have conflicting views. And I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, gosh, what I mean? Like, I know some of the things that, happened, and it's not good. It's not pretty. And the guy lost his what, right? 80% of murders, the person doing the killing was intoxicated, right? So I just think that there's power in that, Road Dog, in not being too, you don't want to be black and white. Like, when a client is dodging your calls, are they not interested or are they busy, right? When someone doesn't text you back, are they a jerk? Are they just doing their best and overwhelming their own world? Do they have their own private battle going on? Right? Like, when you try to sell coaching to somebody and you hit them with $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year, and it's an unbelievable deal, and you used our software, you found them 100 grand in 45 minutes without them spending $1 on marketing or advertising. If they say no, are they a terrible person? And then, by the way, if they say yes, are they suddenly, absolutely magical, right? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, just, there's actually a mental model for what I'm trying to describe here, and I can't think of what it is. But the bottom line, the intelligence is the ability to have conflicting views. seeing things from, it's like, did I say this on a podcast recently? So we had Christmas recently, right? And families around, and surprise, surprise, politics come up, and you could probably guess some of the people that were mentioned, right? And I just said, well, I saw it, and I'm like, whoa, 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 right? And I just said, here's the question. I said, so somebody's got an opinion on a specific politician, and I said, okay, so you are against this person. Would I be correct? They go, yes. I go, can you argue for that person? And can you argue for, and can you argue against? Right? If you know anything about the debate team, right? A real debate coach will say, okay, you got to debate for the topic, and you got to debate against the topic, and now you're ready for the debate, right? It was the same thing. And of course, this individual, who I am closely related to, couldn't even see their way. They had absolutely no perspective from the other side. And I just said, you know what? Then there is no debate to go on, right? Because you just can't see the other side, so you're not going to be persuaded in any way. So why should we have this conversation, which is going to turn into, ruining Christmas dinner, or, these few days pre and post Christmas that we can spend together? And it lightly put an end to it all, right? Did it in a joking way. It's just like, you've got to be able to see things. I don't want to, I would encourage you to see things from both sides. I say to my daughter, again, she's 9 years old, and she's a 9-year-old little girl. She tends to go up and she tends to go down, which may or may not reflect, the number of hours that she slept, whether it's a weekend or not, or if she had too much candy, and if she's eaten enough, right? A little bit hangry. But like I just try to say to her in a delicate way as best I can. And I am so far from perfect, it's scary. But like, baby, never too up, never too down, right? Like, let's try and stay here, right? And then, by the way, do I expect her to listen? Of course, what do you think? She rolls her eyes and, oh, daddy. But if I keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it in a lighthearted, judgmental or non-demanding kind of way, do you know what I mean? Because probably do the opposite, right? I think that's going to work significantly better in the right direction. So anyways, but never too up and never too down shoots. That is my answer. That was about media, but anyways, that's my answer, shoots.
So if this is the first time you're ever listening, right there, classic case study of a Karl Bryan rabbit hole. Like, times a million right there, folks. We started with media. He's talking about somebody murdering his wife, and then does a pivot to somebody not texting you back. That, my friends, I don't know. Dude, you are magical at times, and that was a magical moment, and we all got to experience what really goes on in that mind of yours. By the way, so you're talking about some guys. Should I be texting Tammy to maybe like check into a hotel for a few days, or like, I'm a little concerned here, Shoots.
True story, man. True story.
What's that?
I'm telling you. Road Dog and I, man. Or sorry, Johnny Utah and I would. Johnny Utah knows a real. He was staying at Johnny Utah's house, man.
Oh,
Telling you. Yeah, true story, man. In Saskatchewan, look it up, well and truly.
That is a scary thing. But anyways, to bring this back onto the rails, and back to again, let's talk about change, AI industries. I'm really curious what industries you see being affected the most by AI, and then sort of maybe trying to tie in, like, I guess this would be good for business coaches to know, right? Like, from that macro level, as you always say, right? Sounding intelligent and everything else. But I just wonder, because we talked on the pre-show, one of the guys was talking about, which I thought was brilliant, running the actual software that you provide on his own business. By the way, how many people are actually doing that, right? Like, not just they're doing what they preach. That's sort of almost unique in a way. But anyways, from that perspective, I just wonder, being able to go into industries that are going to be most affected, because they're going to need some help. So let me back that up. What industries do you see being most affected by AI?
I think it's a good question. It's obviously, to say it's a hot topic is understatement of the year. It's a disruptor. It's going to be a disruptor on steroids. Many industries are going to be affected. They're going to be broken up, Rob. Like jobs are going to disappear overnight, like what CDs did to vinyl records. That is going to happen. Road Dog, can you hear me? You good?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I literally just had to jump across the room. Yep.
You're good. Sorry. That's cool. So, things are going to be broken up. Just think like chess, right? Do you want to be the computer or do you want to be the human? Okay, we know that the computer wins 90% of the time. And of course, you're a chess master. Maybe you can slide through, but at the end of the day, I'm taking the computer all day long and twice on Sunday, or like a self-driving car versus somebody, something driven by one of us, self-driving all day long, twice on Sunday. So industries, I don't know, industries, I mean, some like accounting, I know that's going to, accounting and bookkeeping going to be disrupted, finance, stock trading, fintech. That's I think that's kind of well documented. I mean, healthcare, wellness wearables like Apple Watch and the, what's called the Aura Ring, which, manages your sleep and your heartbeat and that sort of thing. Like they're going to have predictive analytics, right, to determine what could go wrong. Like is your body temperature up? Is your, when you're sleeping, is your heart rate down? You know what I mean? Is your heart rate coming down to the, the not manageable, but like the right heartbeat for you? So like what's going wrong? And then there's cybersecurity, like on the back of healthcare, same sort of thing, but like health for your computer, predictive analytics of data and trends that they see. They're going to be able to see that, look, there's somebody trying to break in. Think of like what happened in 9/11. That was happening on a computer. You'd see like, hey, there's something happening. There's something happening. There's something happening. All this doesn't add up. And then that you would know that you've got to step in and, all of a sudden there's potentially a strike coming, right? So like, predictive analytics. Transportation, again, I think that's been done to death, like self-driving cars and automated, like they're going to have self-driving trucks. And then there's going to be a robot in the back, or like think of like a front end loader, kind of bobcat, kind of, what am I trying to say? Like the thing that's going to grab the pallets and steer them away. That's going to be all automated, and it's going to be all ready to go in the back of the truck or waiting for the truck. So transportation, right now, that's all done manually. There's just no way that is not taken over by robots and self-driving cars. Road Dog sent me a text last week when we were talking about robots, and I said dolls instead of robots. But anyways, let's continue. I don't know. Look, predictive analytics are going to help in a variety. Like think inventory, right? Like so anything that involves inventory will, like, they're going to logistics. And robots are going to manage that kind of thing at a significantly better level than a manager, like a general manager, ever going to do in a factory, right? Customer service. Think again, machine learning. They will start to better understand. There's going to be frequently, again, machine learning, AI. The machine learning is more data, more data, more data, more data, and then it gets a compounding hockey stick like effect where it learns and learns and learns and learns and learns. So all the frequently asked questions, and then of course the frequently, needed answers, that is going to be done by, that's going to be done by, computers and robots, for sure, which falls into AI. And then anything outside of a frequently asked Q&A, right? It's think 80/20, like the 20% is going to be sent to a live operator, but the computer, it's going to start with the robot and the AI. And then when they can't answer, and they're going to know when they can't answer, they can't solve the problem. They're going to speak to a live operator, right? Marketing has taken, like the writing of the ads, the tracking of the ads, tracking of the ad stats, deciding where the ads should go and where they're working best. Imagine artificial intelligence doing that instead of an advertising agency. They're going to be doing it way, 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 way better. And you're starting to see this now. If your Facebook feed looks anything like my Facebook feed, I mean, this thing is starting to happen. And it's going to get a little bit better, 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 compounding hockey stick type growth, and it's going to be unbelievable. So it's affecting marketing well and truly. And then I think you got to ask the question, Road Dog, if these industries are going to get affected, and then people are obviously going to, the copywriter is no longer needed, and the customer service person is never needed. What happens? And like, there's a story, I've actually told this before. It's like a very famous economist. He tells a story of 10 people live on an island. And what happens is all 10 people, they basically go out and they fish every day, and all of them catch 2 fish every day, and then they eat 2 fish every day, right? Well, 2 of them over a period of time get this bang up idea that they're going to build a boat and a net, and then they're going to go out and make this easier. Well, lo and behold, guess what? They go out and they catch 20 fish. Well, what happens? So 20 fish feeds all 10 people. So then the question is, what are you going to do? So you have the option of taxing the 2 people, all 80% of the fish, and then what am I trying to say? Like giving it out to all of the 8 others, right? So everybody is still going to end up with 2 fish, right? And then what's going to happen? The 8 people are going to sit around and suntan and do nothing all day. Well, the 2 people that are out fishing, what's going to happen? Maybe de-incentivized. They're going to be like, what? All these people are sitting around doing nothing, reading books, playing games, suntanning, sitting on their fat butts all day, and we're out fishing. Screw that. And then they're going to be disincentivized. They're going to that their motivation is going to wane, and then you're going to have challenges, right? So alternative to that, and what you want to happen is the 2 people go out and catch all the fish for the island. The 3rd guy learns to farm and grow vegetables. The next guy works on the boat and makes it faster so that they can get out there quicker and get back faster. Another guy's working on a better net so that they can not only catch 20 fish, but maybe they could, catch 40 fish, create stock, start stockpiling it, and then they could trade it. Folks could eat more. They could grow their population. Somebody else is going to learn to knit. So now they're all going to have blankets and clothes. Somebody else is going to learn to read so that when they have kids, all of a sudden they're going to have a teacher on the island. Somebody else is going to take their time and they're going to build a school, right? So what happens is, as AI comes in, we can't be looking at it as like, oh, all these people are going to be out of work. The way we need to be looking at it, we need to become, resourceful as opposed to rely on our resources, right? So it's just, the beauty is that we are going to take grand steps forward because the robots are going to come in and take care of things like customer service, but we're going to reallocate those people, and they're going to be able to learn how to code, and they're going to learn how to one's going to be building better video games, and they're going to be building educational video games, and they're going to build an educational platform, and they're going to participate in building the educational platform because they're not a coder, but they are going to, provide, good insight. So that's the way it needs to, and I hope that what that does is make everybody feel comfortable that, AI is going to come in and take away a bunch of jobs, but I assure you it's going to be a really, really good thing. As long as they don't turn and kill us, by the way, which may or may not happen. But you know what I mean? Like society is going to be way better off because we're going to have all these people that are no longer going to have to sit behind the phone and answer stupid questions, the same stupid questions over and over and over again. What we're going to be able to do is, reallocate those resources into, better, more effective stuff, right? Like better things to be thinking about. Do you know what I mean? Like instead of getting all preoccupied with artificial intelligence and like whether or not it's going to wipe us out, remember, the smartest people in the world build the best things, right? You look at the companies that you think the most of, again, and whether you love them or you hate them, you got to suspend that thought. It's just Bezos. Is he a smart guy? Is he like elite smart guy? Is he a genius? He's going to be far closer to genius than your average guy. Okay, well, he just happened to build Amazon. He's a very smart guy. Bill Gates, Harvard. Elon Musk, clearly. To say he's a smart individual would be understatement. Steroids. Zuckerberg, again, got accepted into Harvard, didn't graduate. Irrelevant. He got into Harvard. Believe me, he's the elite of the elite of the elite. Intelligence wise, IQ wise, right? So, like, they're educated and they kept educating themselves. My question is, are you like, when AI replaces you, you got to educate yourself and then continue to educate yourself and become super. Like, I really think that what you should do is just find a way. You're never going to take your IQ up dramatically, but you can absolutely increase it. And you can certainly think street smarts over school smarts. I think we all know the guy that was school smart, right? He went on to make what? And the answer is very little money. What is it? C student starts the company and they hire A students to manage B students, right? You guys probably all heard that one, but it's the C students to start the companies as a general rule, but they keep learning and keep learning and keep learning. And of course, the A students, when they do start the company and they adopt street smarts and continue to educate themselves, those are the folks that really, really, really make a dent. But, it's like better things to be thinking about, like, like eating healthy, hydrating, fasting once a month is something like they say, and there's, feel free to discard this information or call me wrong, but fasting once a month for 3 days is an incredibly good idea. It is fantastic for brain fog. And quite frankly, that alone could make you marginally, but positively a little bit smarter, right? That like driving, like over the holidays, I said this to a few friends, like they're taking these long drives in snowy conditions. You know how if you're between, I'm going to make a meal of this, but I'll tell you that I'm very confident if you're between the age of 40 to 60, I believe it's the third highest, the way that you are going to die with the third highest probability is how? It's driving, right? So if I'm you and you're between the age of 40 to 60, first you want to look after that little thing called your heart. What you really want to do is stay the heck away from the wheel and long drives. Another way that you die, I believe it's number 4 on that same list, is by choking, right? So like if you live longer, you're going to have the opportunity to make significantly more money. If you're in business for 10 years longer than I am, because I'm dead and you're not, let's hope that doesn't happen. But you know what I mean? Like you're going to make more dough. Staying alive is probably a good idea. Like instead of worrying about artificial intelligence, which there's a high probability that you have zero control over, concentrate on these things, like in between your own ears and then your own energy levels, to grow your business. And if you do get laid off, if you don't have brain fog and you get a high level of energy and you're super fit and you're eating healthy and you're exercising a lot, you have a way better job of going, to get yourself, to get yourself a new career. I was talking up, I do boxing every day at 8:30. I've got a guy who comes by, Gary Lightborn. He fought, he boxed, he's sparring partners with Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Larry Holmes, George Foreman, you name it, he's boxed, right? He used to party. He sent a happy birthday message to my dad. I'm like, who's the coolest guys you partied with? And he goes, Eddie Murphy, Michael Jackson, Isaiah Thomas, right? And he hung out with Oprah. I mean, this is the people that he is hanging out with. He's like the coolest guy. Big man. But anyway, so we were talking about this. Like he pushes me. And if you heard just an audio of us boxing at 8:30 in the morning, you would think that I am going for the middleweight championship of the world, right? Like, I mean, this guy is working me and he talks to me like I'm a professional boxer. And I just love it. I have so much fun. But anyways, what we were talking about is like the Navy SEALs. there was a guy in the Navy SEALs. He got interviewed. It might have been Jocko, by the way. But he's like, when you think you're at your limit, and Road Dogg, you'd know about this from doing marathons. And Road Dogg goes to the gym and he doesn't toot around. I mean, he's there lifting. Like, what's heavy and how many times can I lift it? This kind of guy he is. Well, when you think you're at your limit and you're going to throw up and you can't feel your hands, you can't feel your feet, you're just exhausted. You're at 30% is what they say. You've got another 70%, right? So I don't know. Thinking about, I'm going off on a tangent again, shoots. But that, like the Navy SEALs, like you're at 30%. So I'm going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Gary, like I need to take a break, right? And he's like, you were the one that told me. You were the one that told me you're only at 30%, and again, and I keep going. And, you feel like you're going to throw up, but it's kind of cool. Like you can really, really push yourself. I think that's really good for your heart. That's really good for your lungs. And instead of thinking about artificial intelligence, if you were thinking about that, you might find that you can influence local business owners at a higher level. You can influence yourself at a higher level. You can influence your family at a higher level. So I think that is good. Instead of, playing on these sites like Robinhood, right? Like, Robinhood, that's people think that Robinhood is investing. And let me tell you that Robinhood are encouraging, and that's the platform where, you do stock trades and that sort of stuff. But they encourage gambling over investing, right? Again, Warren Buffett will tell you, you buy a stock and then you own it for 10 years, if not a lifetime, right? These guys, like they're in and out, day trading. It's gambling, right? At the end of the day. And let me tell you that the highest level of suicide amongst addictions, guess which one it is? Is it meth? Is it alcohol? Is it sex? Is it porn? Is it what? It's gambling, right? The number one addiction that leads to suicide is gambling. Right. So, and again, because it's something that you can hide for a long time is what they'll say. But again, are you day trading? Are you spending, 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. day trading and staring at a computer and tooting around with that? Or are you working on this other stuff that we're talking about, trying to elevate yourself? Or again, rather than getting distracted with artificial intelligence, which is what I'm kind of trying to do here, is that I think that there's a lot of things that could occupy your mind, significantly better. Like space, like space tourism was so popular roughly 12 months ago, colonizing Mars, this, that, and the other. It's still in play. But I got to tell you that Bezos and his brother went into space. No one seems to care. Nobody seems to be interested, and if you look at it, Branson and the founders of what does he call it? Virgin something or other. But Richard Branson's program where he's trying to fly people into space, he's got all of his own money out. You might want to have a look at that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. You have a look. But let me tell you, he's got no money in that company because he clearly believes it could go to zero. It's one of those, when you invest in something, I talked about, I think it was last week or the week before. Like I believe that 2023, as we record, a really good investment will be Meta for the reason that it's down well over 50%, right? Well over 50%. Well, it's got a floor, right? Because it's got, really good cash reserves and cash flow, and there's a real business behind it with real opportunity. It's got punch in the mouth so much because Zuckerberg can't get away from the metaverse, and people feel like the world's not ready for it, and will never be ready for it. By the way, I'm going to suspend judgment. Not really sure. I do have, I bought my daughter one of those Oculuses, and I can tell you that I have used it. I think it's super cool. Everybody who sees it, super cool, and everybody wants to have a go. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. But what I'm trying to get at is Meta has it's got a floor where it can only, it just can't go much lower. It is not going to zero. Certainly any time. If Meta went to zero, it will be one heck of a long time from now as I record, right? So therefore, you can't really lose all your dough. If you put your money into SpaceX as an investment, and we talked about this, I believe that you should be investing, you should be making a good income, you should be living well, you should be looking after your family, and you should be investing, and it should be an expense like your mortgage, and like your rent, as opposed to something you do if you can. But space tourism can go literally to the floor, as in to zero. So that's not something that, I don't know. I just think that it's one of those things that occupied a lot of people's time, and people are thinking about it. And I've said on this podcast different times that Musk is just an alien trying to get home, and colonizing Mars is like his greater play. It's like it's minus 100 degrees on Mars right now as I talk to you, right? So like, I hope the heater's working in the spaceship. You might be in a little bit of trouble. So those types of things. Careful. I guess shiny light syndrome is where I'm going there. Don't get caught up with artificial intelligence and space travel and all these different other things that, crypto would be an example of that. How's that worked out? And again, depending upon when you're listening to this, maybe it's gone back to maybe it's at $100,000, and maybe it's gone to zero, and maybe it's still, probably about at $16,000 as I talk. But I don't know. Don't get all consumed. Just think of all the entrepreneurs, Road Dog. We know a number of them, right? That went all in on their businesses on crypto, right? And by the way, there was a time when Tesla didn't go all in it by any stretch, but it was about Dogecoin, and there was a stage where you could buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, right? Well, what happened? And the answer is, wasn't good. So just be a little bit careful with those trends and the sexiness of all that stuff. Concentrate on what you can control. So I understand about artificial intelligence, the importance of it, the sexiness of it, the draw of it, but your health, and the things that you can avoid to stay healthy, to do might be and your clients, guiding them. And we're kind of talking macro concepts and whatnot here. I don't know if you're talking about this with your business owners. Is that a good thing? Is that on a macro level? Are they like, wow, this is a really well-rounded individual that knows a lot about a lot? Maybe they would be more attractive. You will be more attractive to them by way of doing business. That has been clearly my experience. Not to mention, as you educate yourself, I believe that as you educate yourself, you'll earn significantly more organically. So I encourage you to do so. So, Road Dog, I think I just went on a rabbit hole tear, but there you go, shoot.
Rabbit hole special. You know what I was just, as you just wouldn't stop talking. It's like talking to my wife. I was just thinking that it'd be kind of cool if we had like a remote shock collar, and then at the end of your rabbit hole, I just ask you one thing. What was the original question you were answering? Right? Because I don't even think you could answer.
Industries.
Oh, you got it.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, there you go, Shakes. I am so proud of you that you remembered that after what I don't even know what was going on in that brain. Listen, first off, you made a comment about me in the gym. Watching Karl Bryan in the gym, folks, like his number one thing is, look, bud, I don't want to get injured. Like it's always the way I got a bad shoulder. I can't, like it's awesome.
Shit. That's not it. That's not. Go on, man. Don't be too harsh, buddy. It's important, man. I'll tell you. You get an injury, right? Get what happens. You end up with all the games that you got. You lose.
Form, bud. You're fine. You're fine. Anyways, I can't wait to read the show notes. It's going to have highlights such as dying is bad for your business and don't choke. So that's going to be exciting for folks. And by the way, Zuckerberg and all these guys, they may have gone to Harvard, but let me ask you, did they go to Red Deer College? I don't think so. I don't think they did.
You and I both know that's where all the greats went, Shoots.
Red Deer College. I love it. All right. End it. Can you end this without going into a rabbit hole by giving us one practical piece of advice that somebody can take from today's episode and implement into their business coaching practice?
I'm scared, Shoots. I'm scared. I'm on a tear. I know, it's shiny. So a lot of what I said over the last little bit here, shiny light, guard that little space in between your ears. Again, look, what we said to somebody on the opening, We were talking about goals, Bruno, right? Shout out to Bruno. But it's like, what, talking about goals and that sort of stuff. Remember, create a 25-year goal, 10-year goal, 5-year goal, 3-year goal, 1-year goal, 9-month goal, 6-month goal, 3-month goal, 1-month goal, 3-week goal, 2-week goal, 1-week goal, and then 1-day goal, right? And series of goals, and they all need to coalesce. They all need to rhyme, right? So like, if the initiative doesn't take shape to that, like 20, I tell you, you laugh about choking and driving, but I tell you, if you get a 25-year goal and you die 12 years into it, I got bad news, shoots. Like you're not accomplishing that, right? So again, general health, and understand, like, how many people knew that, like, which I'm going to say that it's the fourth highest. What do we, like the stats and the data say that it's the fourth thing that's going to knock you out of the box if you're 40 to 60, right? Like, again, driving, that's going to knock you out of the box. Like, I don't know if people are thinking about that kind of thing. So when you're thinking about taking your family on a holiday, and there's the option to fly and there's the option to drive, and then you're thinking, yeah, the airport and the strip search and the, got to take off my darn shoes and go through and travel, such a pain. Well, safety should potentially factor into that, right? It does for me. And I'm like, look, I'm flying. That's it. Significantly safer. But so goals, but shiny light shoots. If the thing doesn't help you get to your 25, 10, 5, 3, 2, 1 year goals, which all coalesce and all rhyme with one another, stay away from it. That being said, a lot of money made with trends, as we both know. So I also wouldn't. I'd be educating myself at a high level, which is what we're trying to do, like with this podcast. Kind of helping you guys with different things that you could be thinking about and some things that you may or may not have known, so that you can advance your business coaching career. Hopefully we do that. But that's what just staying away from that shiny light. Multiple streams of income. Stop it. Right? Show me, introduce me to somebody with multiple streams of income, and I'll introduce you to somebody with lame multiple streams of income. Right? Like Zuckerberg wasn't growing Facebook and then doing Airbnb on the side. Bezos wasn't building Amazon, and then playing with crypto or doing, the trendy, neat, shiny light thing on the side, trying to make a few extra bucks, right? All in on one thing, go all in with business coaching. I talked about investing. What's the greatest, you guys know the answer to this. If you're listening to this, you know the answer, but knowing it and doing it are two different things, right? Road Dog, again, that's something else we've talked about a lot in the past, and absolutely something that's true, that if you're not doing it, you don't know it. So I'm sorry, right? You know that you should invest. You know that you should, what's the number one investment? You, right? I think people read book summaries and they read books and they do audios, but if there's something that you really, really, really need to learn, like let's call it NLP for the argument. Okay, well, go do it. Like, don't read the book on NLP and assume you know it. Like, if you feel like NLP is going to take you to the new heights and like one little initiative has got you some clients and made a big difference, maybe it's time for you to go do the full, 8-hour course on NLP. Really learn it. You know what I mean? And maybe it's sales. How often, Road Dog, do we hear, oh, I suck at sales. I suck at sales. I'm a great coach. I suck at sales. So I say to the guy, how much time over the last 90 days, how many books, how many audios, how many courses have you taken on sales in the last 90 days? What's the answer with 99.9% predictability? Zero. None. I'm like, hey, well, if you suck at sales and you haven't bettered your skills in the last 90 days, you suck even worse now because you lost 90 days. Just a little bit better, 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 and you get that compounding hockey stick type growth. The problem is when you play Monopoly properly, you feel like you're losing halfway through, right? You take a penny and you double it every day for 31 days, you got $10 million. But the problem, it's day 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, etc. for a freaking ever. It feels like forever, but you're getting there, you're getting there, you're getting there. But that would be defined as delayed gratification. And that's not sexy. So we get taken by the shiny light, cute, funnels, sales funnel, funnel this, funnel that, Facebook ad this, Facebook ad that, TikTok this, TikTok that, Snapchat this and Snapchat that. And you know what I mean? Like, just don't get taken by that sexy stuff. Go learn how to read financial statements. Now, there's an initiative that I really want, to encourage you to do, which, by the way, we teach. So anyway, there you go, Shoots. But stay away from shiny lights. How's that, Shoots? That's my final thought.
Shiny lights. Hey, listen, I'm going to 3 things. 1, the rule of 100. And this is, I think, fantastic advice for everybody. It only takes 18 minutes a day. Okay. You take something, a discipline, a practice, whatever you want to learn. The rule of 100 states that if you spend 18 minutes a day studying one subject for 365 days, you will be better than 95% of the world in that discipline. Like, think about that, right? So what's the 20 minutes you're going to spend on studying today? Maybe it's reading financial statements, right, Carl? Imagine if somebody spent 20 minutes a day reading financial statements, how efficient they would be at that within a year. It would be absolutely insane. So number 1. Number 2, to your choking. You know what? 450 people die annually by falling out of bed. So just throwing that number out there. So there you go.
Is that true?
I'm Googling this right now. But you know what's even more scary than falling out of bed? 762 people a year die by a volcano. Volcanoes kill an average of 762 people a year. So while you're busy not choking, also stay away from those volcanoes, folks. There you go. We're just here to help, Carl. That's what we're here for.
Trip to Hawaii.
There's something about selfies in there too. So you know what? If you really want to minimize your impact of dying, don't take a selfie by a volcano. I'm pretty sure those go hand in hand. All right. On that note, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the King of the Caribbean himself, King Carl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show that we've been talking about so much lately, or you're not getting Carl's daily emails, or just want generally more information on how to grow your business coaching practice, go to focused.com and subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share or leave a review. That would be fantastic. And as I like to end every show with, remember, folks, progress equals happiness. 18 minutes a day. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.